All right, so welcome to another video from the chart readers. Hey, if you haven't already, please hit subscribe. I really appreciate all the people that have subscribed and the time you guys are watching these videos. I really hope you're learning and hopefully making some good money with these. Not financial advice, obviously, but again, if you're learning, you'll know what to do with your money, right? That's essentially the goal. So we are still in active trading hours, so I have a really busy afternoon. I live on the West Coast, so there's still about an hour and a half of trading. I normally make these videos after trading because, again, that's how you should be reading the charts, right? But I at least wanted to do this before I just missed making a video. So, again, the day hasn't closed. Ideally, nothing crazy happens in the last hour and a half, right? But I'll just make a couple assumptions as I make these videos. So that said, we're going to do oil and energy today. As always, we'll look at the daily chart as well as the weekly chart. We'll use our moving average lines as well as these horizontal support and resistance lines that I draw manually. And then we'll use these two lower indicators down here as our just kind of reassurance, right? So let's zoom in and take a look at OXY, OXY. So really, I mean, look, if you've been watching these videos, you can already tell the first thing I'm going to say, right? Look at how many days we've been trading under the 8, right? Rule number one is essentially don't put your money in something that's trading under the 8. It really does well, I'm telling you, right? So all these days under the 8, and look, as far as I know, this is going to keep trading under the 8 unless it really tells me otherwise, right? There was a pretty good attempt right here, right? It came all the way down to the 50. It's also just been dealing with this 60, we can basically call it $65 line that I drew right here, right? So kind of a bounce, kind of a bounce, kind of a bounce, an actual bounce, but we did not close over the 8, and clearly today we've continue to fail, right? There's not too many words for it. So where are we at right now? Look, I've said this a couple times. These clusters down here, when you essentially have one of my lines plus two or more moving average lines, those generally are hard to lose. So ideally, we're going to bounce on one of these. I will say this is a very ugly RSI. This is probably the lowest it's been in quite a while, right? We've been in a rather tight line here, and I mean, this is a violent drop, if that at least the most violent we've seen recently, right? So I'm actually a little worried we might lose this and start heading down into the 60s, right? Which could be almost a 10% drop from where we're at today. So OXY is looking very a little hesitant on my side. So looking at the weekly, look, again, we made a very nice run over the 8, over the 20. How close were we? Look at that. Everything else was below us. So we were actually making a run to all-time highs, right? Clearly, the last 3 weeks just did not do OXY well, right? So I'll say this. When the market goes down, a lot of people like to trade, you know, commodities and resources, and you would think that oil would be doing differently. I'll be real honest with you. I really would have expected oil to be doing differently. But again, follow the lines. Don't let your emotion make the decision for you. Just let these computer lines and some manual ones as you get better making them, right? INDO. Again, energy. People like to trade these kind of things in a bad market, and I'm just really surprised that it's doing poorly, right? First thing I see down here is this RSI. Again, a very violent drop, especially because, again, I'm just zooming out. We've been in this very tight cluster, right? It's just been such a tight line, and today, I mean, that's a hard line right there. From there, again, you should see it, right? Technically under, right? I know it looks like it. We actually started above but closed under, started above but closed under, right? And again, all these days basically up through this one have been under the 8, right? So you're not going to get good things if you're under the 8. If you watch these videos enough, you'll see that, right? And look, we're actually under the 50. This is the last of the moving averages that we have, and if we lose the 50, there's a really good chance we're coming down to 588. I'll be honest. I see this 588 line being a little stronger than this 631, just kind of at least immediately, right? So do I have a line under 588? Let me zoom out. I do. From there, it just goes down to 5. So, yeah, be careful with INDO. I sincerely hope be careful with Indo. You know, interesting, this weekly looks like it's positive with this RSI coming here, but again, at this point, I'm seeing this rejection up here of the 20 and the 50, losing the 100, now losing the 8. Not a good weekly. I would far put more emphasis up here, excuse me, than I would down here. So, Indo looking ugly. Indo looking ugly. CEI. Oh my goodness. So look, we are now pretty much 0 for 3 on these tickers, and I have to believe we might see this commonality across the rest of the sector, right? But look, an extremely longer amount of days under the 8 than any of them, actually. Looks like the last time this one was over the 8 was actually on the 18th. 8/18 was when it was over the 8. Look at all those 8s. Even this day, it made a decent run at some point, but look, it's still closed under the 8, right? I mean, CEI, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, this bad boy's at all-time lows. And really, I started to zoom out this much. I do apologize for doing that. But yeah, we're still all-time lows. And look, it's going to keep going. And I'm not a hater. I don't, you know, bash stocks just for the fun of it. I actually don't even short stocks, right? All I do is save my money for the good ones. And I'm very realistic that the worst is never over until the lines tell me it's over. So if you thought how much lower could it go on this day when it was green, the last 2 days could tell you, hey, it'll keep going lower, right? So yeah, again, all-time lows. I'll make another line at some point. But look, we've had 4 red weeks in a row. There's no place for me to make new lines because we have no new greens, right? I need some green candles to do some things. Again, I could make a line right here, but in all honesty, just get over the 8, right? Ugly RSI, ugly MACD, under the 8. Just, again, I'm real sorry, and hopefully hit that parachute. So, IMPP, again, still negative, don't get me wrong, but this one's a little more interesting than the rest. There's definitely a very tight cluster going on here. Again, this is a penny stock, right? We're at a 36 center. So a couple cents is going to move the needle quite a bit, right? Ugly RSI, we've seen this across the sector, definitely under the 8, but hey, yesterday we were over the 8, right? A lot of them can't say that, but overall you can definitely see we've been majority under the 8. This 20 line kind of in the middle right here, again, 20 moving averages are orange. This one seems to have been in play a bit, but again, overall, I'm still just looking at this 8, right? Is there a line under 35? Oh man, we're at all-time lows after 35. Cannot lose 35 cents, people. I'm going to say that one more time. We cannot lose 35 cents. It's not looking good today on the daily. Again, hopefully something happens in the next hour and a half. But trading under the 8, ugly RSI, you should see a commonality, right? So again, cannot lose 35 cents. Coming into UEC, looking at some uranium. Oh man, let me zoom out a little bit. So uranium, I remember this making a pretty nice play. This line again, right? I'm pretty proud of the lines that I draw. It took me years to get good at that. I'd say an easy 1.5 years, almost 2 years. But again, you see it. It just never was able to close over 475, right? We made a good test here, good test here, good test here, good test here, good test here. But again, they were only tests, right? We never closed or even actually opened above that line. So where are we now? Look, we've been over the 8 these last 3 days. Unfortunately, today just kind of was ugly, right? And look, the major markets are not doing well. Again, I'm surprised resources and commodities aren't doing better than they are. So, you know, and again, I'm taking my emotion out of it. I'm letting the lines dictate it more than what my head thinks, right? Because I promise you, none of us are any better than these lines. Like, these are non-emotional lines, and that's really what technical analysis is about, right? This is a pretty hard cluster. Look, 1, 2, 3 lines, as well as one of my horizontals. So I can't really imagine it going any lower than this. However, that's a hard drop from where we're at today, right? So UEC does not look good. And again, not as dramatic as the rest, but not a great RSI. Look, the weekly's been all right. Look, 3 weeks over last time. We're actually still over the weekly, but obviously it's a little early in the week. So there still might be some movement. But yeah, ideally we don't lose this, and then hey, maybe commodities will turn around next week, right? Today was kind of the first bad day of the majors, right? It kind of looked like we were taking 1200 on the Nasdaq, but yeah, clearly today had other plans. GEVO, again, GEVO, look, yesterday and the day before, right, the 12th, and then the Friday, right, the 9th, there was at least a solid attempt to get back over the 8. Again, look at how many days had just been trading under the 8, right? Unfortunately, this 50 red line right here, the 50 moving average in red, was just a little too hard to get over, and that caused more of a resistance than ideal, right? Again, kind of an ugly RSI, ugly MACD, under the 8, not a lot of positivity here on GEVO, right? And really this 239, 240 line probably is going to be one of the stronger lines if I had to guess. So yeah, there's definitely still some movement down. So only 2 tickers left, and honestly not a lot of good across this 10-minute video. So LIACF, what are we looking at? So yeah, I don't know why this candle's green right now. Interesting. Nonetheless, we're actually looking at a negative day on the daily, right? So I'm sure that'll adjust at some point today. But the RSI does not look too good. We are actually, looks like we're about to come under. And really, look, it tried to make a nice run through this cluster. Definitely hit the 20 right here, and just the 20 was just too much, right? And worked its way down. So the daily on LIACF, one of these smaller lithium companies, does not look well. And look, on the weekly, right, we had a great month back here. This last month up here really has not been too good, right? And actually, the way I see it, we're under almost all of our moving averages, with the last one being under my last line. So yeah, this one could be a little dangerous to play in, especially with the down market. Again, I don't know why this candle is, we opened, oh, interesting, it actually opened down here, and so it is, okay, it's green for today, but compared to yesterday, I don't know. We'll see. I think this, again, I don't really use money. I don't move any money on this platform. All I really use this for is my indicators. So it gets a little odd sometimes. Last one we're going to look at is TMC. Again, this thing, I just feel like it was so close to going, right? It just kept riding the 8, kept riding the 8. Unfortunately, too many resistances is really what happened, right? It made a run up. I had 2 manual lines that I drew in right here. Tested this one, got past it, but again, just a test. Tested both of them, never quite got really anywhere close to these. From there, the 100 also started coming in, and just we started coming down to this line instead of these lines, right? So TMC, really sad actually. It looked like this was setting up, but just clearly is not. And where are we right now? Under the 8, right? So unless we can bounce from either the 20 or the 50, at this point with the RSI looking negative, TMC does not look like a good setup anymore. It's sad, right? And look, again, it happens. Look, on the weekly, we had 2 good weeks last week. Thought we might be making a test to the 20. Again, we made 1 test here, a baby test there. Really a baby test this week as well. But yeah, let's see if we stay over the 8 on the weekly. But clearly, at least in the next couple days, TMC needs to bounce on one of these. Otherwise, we're moving on down, right? Let me actually draw a couple lines just to have them. So I'll put one right there. And then I will put one actually pretty much right there on this bad boy. Yeah, cool. So again, that's a pretty hard drop right there. That's not quite 10%, but closer to 10 than 5 for sure. So again, be careful. It's a rough market out there, but yeah, making this video a little earlier because I have a rough afternoon coming. Hey, thanks so much.